And I think the focus here is to have a look at how fiqh was at the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then at the time of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'een, and then amongst the early Salaf. By Salaf, we mean the early Muslim generations, the early Muslim communities, immediately after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'een. The Sahaba have a special maqam in that their position has been endorsed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself in the Quran. And I'm sure that the speech before me by Sheikh Hassan has highlighted that. Sahaba radiallahu anhu ajma'in have a special maqam. And with regards they being our examples and our role models, there can be no doubt. Even the tabi'un, rahimahumullah, they are also to some extent endorsed by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they are included amongst the people of the best generations. In the hadith, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Khairul quruni qarni thumma alladhina yalunahum thumma alladhina yalunahum," and in this hadith very clearly the tabi'un, the followers of the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, are amongst the best generations that are directly mentioned in this hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the basic theme or the trend of such a hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam point to this reality, that the closer the generations are to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the better they are. The further away from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam the generations are, the relatively the chances of fitna amongst them increase. So they are relatively worse, should I say, than those that are closer to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in terms of time and chronology. So, in terms of looking for role models, looking for an example to follow in our deen, I think we can set this principle early on, that the further back we go, the safer we are. Because the further back we go, the closer we are to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The further away from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam we are, and the further away from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam we set our models and our exemplars, the chances of error automatically increase. Coming to the topic, which is the methodology of the Salaf, and in the meaning that I have just explained, the Salaf, the earlier the better. So I would say the people immediately after the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'een, the people immediately after the Tabi'un radiallahu anhum, the people of those ages, and then the closer the better. Their methodology in jurisprudence, that's the topic. And to get to the topic, I think first of all we need to understand, the understanding of the early Salaf as to what jurisprudence is. Now, the word fiqh, or the root faqaf, is actually in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses it in several places, but not in the technical meaning to which we refer now. The technical meaning or the shape that the word fiqh has taken now in the technical sense. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to fiqh in the Quran to mean understanding. And faqiha means to understand. It means to understand. And it later on, as the science of fiqh developed, it began to be used as the name for the science of jurisprudence. And even its technical definition seems to vary in the different ages, the different times that the development of fiqh went through. If we go back as early as Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, who was the first of the mujtahid imams who are largely followed today, and who by the consensus of the vast majority of ulama, was a tabi'i by chronology. Was a tabi'i, in other words, someone who met the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'een, in the meaning that he has seen and been in the company of companions. There is a difference of opinion regarding whether Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah has actually narrated a hadith from a companion or not. Here, there's no need to go into that discussion, there's difference of opinion. But there is unanimity regarding the fact that Imam Abu Hanifa was a tabi'i and he is the earliest of the imams. And he defined fiqh as ma'rifatun nafsi ma laha wa ma alayha. That to have, to recognize, to know everything regarding what is for and what is upon the nafs, upon the person. To know everything that a person deserves by way of rights, and everything that is upon a person by way of obligation towards others. This was his definition of fiqh. Now if we study this definition, it includes almost everything. It includes everything that is wajib upon us, that is fard upon us, everything that we need to do, every single obligation that is upon us, both in terms of our beliefs, both in terms of what to believe in. For example, we have to believe that there is only one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no partners. We have to believe in the messengers. We have to believe in the holy books of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to believe in all of the messengers and the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all of the imaniyat, all of the things that we must believe in terms of aqidah. This definition includes that as well, because it's ma'rifatun nafs ma alayha ma laha wa ma alayha. It's everything. It's all of these things. Everything that a person is obliged to observe by way of akhlaqiyat, in terms of noble characteristics. This definition also includes that. And then of course, the conventional meaning of fiqh. Everything that a person needs to do, and everything that a person has to observe in terms of practice, in terms of physical actions, or even to some extent mental actions also, such as niyat, such as intentions. All of these things are also included. So Imam Abu Hanifa's definition is broad. It is broad, and probably out of all of the definitions that have been recorded, this is